Hello YouTube audience. Thank you for your interest in Japan. This video is a quick introductory video to help give you some of the concepts behind my other videos, which are a short series to give people a better idea about the reality of Japan. I didn't make these videos to badmouth or bash this country, but rather to call attention to a severely dysfunctional society that is destroying its people, its own culture, and its land. I think that many foreigners, such as myself, we actually are hurt by the sad state that this country is in more than the Japanese do themselves. You see, the Japanese have a very unique ability to live in their manga and their video games and ignore the reality of the country around them. But as a foreigner, it's impossible to ignore the concrete that's been poured all over the mountains, and the concrete which is scattered all over the beaches, or rivers that have been concreted over. It's impossible as a foreigner to ignore the trash that's floating everywhere. In the rivers, the lakes, on the beaches, and the trash that's piling up in every corner of the cities. I've been to some of the most remote places in this country, on tops of mountains, very discreet lakes, only to find refrigerators, PCs, tires, air conditioners, and heating units strewn everywhere. It's also impossible to ignore the corrupt government who just happened to lose the names of 500,000 people just as they were becoming eligible to withdraw their pension benefits. Their answer to these people was, "We're sorry, we cannot confirm that you or anyone else with your name has ever contributed to the pension fund, and as a result we're not able to pay out any of the benefits." But most of all, it's impossible to ignore the rotten youth who are the products of this society. Weekly, as a Japanese, you are greeted with the news of children killing and slaying their parents and other children. Death in any form is a terrible thing to deal with, but when it's your own children doing it to their own family members, there's something terribly wrong with the society. And unfortunately, this is commonplace in Japan. Even recently, from January 2nd to January 16th, every single day in this country, a family member brutally murdered one of their own family members. And the children here, it doesn't come as a surprise to anybody to watch the news and see what these children have done to their parents, to their children, and their teachers. For example, you have 6th graders who work together to lure a 6-year-old girl into a janitorial room just so they can slit her throat with box cutters. Or news of children who poison their teachers. Or news of children who burn their parents, brother and sister, while they sleep. Or news of other kids who lure a third grader to the top of a building so they can shove them off to their death. This is commonplace in this country. Japan is now the proud owner of a wonderful statistic. Japan has the highest suicide rate among teens out of any country in the world that is not currently at war. Some of you may be wondering what I'm talking about because you've visited this country and you say to yourself, it was nice. The people were very kind and peaceful. I didn't see any of this. It takes time to see what really goes on here. 3 generations of my family have been dealing with Japan. And what you have to realize is that for the Japanese, imparting the correct image and perpetuating the show is the single most important driving factor in the society. It is so important that people will literally begin to die before they start to impart the wrong image or show the truth that the show is over. And this show simply means that everyone here is on a stage and they have to show that everything is working just well and that it's perfect. Because for Japanese, if the show ends, everything ends. Especially in the case of foreigners. The Japanese do not want to be shown up by any outside community, any outside person. And they do everything they can, especially if you're a doctor coming over here to study the society, if you're a student, a government official, the show that you see is far from the reality that goes on here. And now I know this is not every Japanese. There are many good people here. And many of you, as Japanese, are aware of what goes on in this country. And I know that many of you are miserable. Many of you have expressed your despair to me. I've watched people sacrifice their life, their family, their land, and their morals, all for the sake of an industrial profit as promised by their government. And I know that you people hurt because this country is in a terrible condition, economically, morally, what you've done to the environment. And I hope that I can give a small voice to those of you and my friends who remember what Japan once was. And I hope that those of you thinking about coming here for a vacation or work will be better informed by watching some of my videos and listening to some of the concepts that I talk about in these videos. Thanks again for your concern and interest in this country.